Broadcasting from Brian's dining room, you are listening to Funny Money on the River's Edge. I'm your host, Tom Henry, and with me is Brian Crawford himself. And
Tom did not sneak his way into the house. No, he was invited in.
Barely.
Yeah.
The reason that we're here is because on Monday night there was a fire in Millvale Studios.
Yes.
That apparently was fairly serious and caused like $250,000 in damage.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah, fortunately,
no would have known I was worth so much.
Yeah, I know.
Honestly, the artwork in there is pretty priceless.
Yeah,
I don't know where they could come up with a price. It's
Right. Well, it depends on what the buyer is willing to pay, in my opinion, not what the artist thinks it's worth.
Well,
so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean it's all subjective.
They were all guesstimating the value of the art. Well, so we're going to talk about something different than art. Tonight we're going to talk about the firearms industry. And this is a very controversial topic, but it's timely. I don't know if you were watching the news, but there was a shooting recently that was very prominent because it involved a man who went to a baseball game that was between Republicans and Democrats.
Yes.
Every year they have a congressional baseball game. And he went and he asked, is this Republicans or Democrats? And a congressman said, this is the Republicans.
He didn't even know he didn't even know which team they were playing for? He just went in and asked?
And then he was like, it's Republicans.
Okay,
and
how can you claim to be... I didn't know all of this to that story. I did know about the news story. I did not know all of this. So my question is, this has nothing to do with finance, but you can't really be that pissed off if you don't even know who the people are you're going to kill. You can't claim to be that big of a social warrior if you have to ask the representatives there.
He was asking prior to shoot. No, I think if they had said Democrats, he would have said no, or he would have gone home or something.
That's my point.
Or gone to the other field. Yeah.
That's my point, though, is you can't claim to be that passionate about something if you don't even know who it is you're going to kill. You know what I mean?
You do know you're going to go open season on Republicans.
On Republicans, but if you don't even know who the Republicans are, then you can't claim to be following things that closely you became that outraged.
Right. He doesn't recognize them.
Yeah.
In other words.
That's my point. So you can't claim to be that outraged with what they're doing when you can't even point one of them out on a ball field.
Right. One of them who are in front of a camera
every day,
like 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It just seems to me like it's just a crazy. It's maybe somebody who's looking for attention. Maybe he got it.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Well, he died also.
Yeah.
Now, so that was an incident of many mass shootings. I would say in this country, especially more in the United States than in other developed countries. Although when I was doing some research, I found that there were some other countries that have really high rates of gun deaths. We have like the highest rate in the first world, pretty much. We've got, so they measure it by how many per 100,000 die from firearms.
So it's a percentage.
In the United States, it's 4.88. In El Salvador, it's 108.
Wow.
Yeah, but in the UK and Germany, it's under 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but they have gun control, in those countries.
True, but
the murder rate is under 1.
Okay.
Yeah. So that includes all things.
But whenever you listen to old school conservative talk radio, you think that people are dying left and right over in the UK because no one can defend themselves.
That's not. I don't think it works that way, but I don't know. It's a controversial topic in the sense that you might feel like an armed population is better at resisting oppression or something like that, but I don't know. What would you do against a tank?
Yeah, but you look at Vietnam. We went in there with bigger guns and bigger weapons, and we weren't able to accomplish all of our goals there. And there was an island, actually, Napoleon was here's an interesting story, a side fact, but it does kind of have to do with weapons. So Napoleon, he had purchased New Orleans from the Spanish, and that was supposed to be his launching point into the United States, or what is now the United States, to kind of take over that territory. But there was a small island in South America that was their Vietnam, and it may have actually affected his war over in Europe because they kept sending so many forces and so many of their best guys to this small island. So, sometimes...
And were they like an armed population, or...?
Kind of, yeah, but it was like guerrilla warfare and stuff like that that kept Napoleon's forces...
occupied.
Yeah.
Well...
So he never made it to America.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
And he sold us Louisiana.
Yes.
So let's talk about two companies. These are two large firearms makers in the United States. They're about the same size. One is Sturm Ruger, and the other is, well, it's called now, it just changed its name to American Outdoor Brands Corporation, but it was formerly Smith & Wesson.
Okay.
Okay. It's funny, they tried to
that is a weird
take the
change,
bite out of their name, I think. I think they didn't want to be entirely associated with guns.
Okay.
Even though that's
what they do.
What they make money from. Yeah. So let's talk about Ruger first. Ruger is an interesting story. William Ruger was born in 1916. Oh, by the way, I got the information, my sources here are Wikipedia and Wall Street Journal Wall Street Journal website, which is WSJ.com. Those are always sources. And then I got a New York Times obituary of William Ruger, dated 7/10/02, written by Paul Lewis. And then also I used a book called Princess Alice, The Life and Times of Alice Roosevelt Longworth. Okay. Just a little bit of that, which...
Expanding our sources here tonight.
Yeah. So William Ruger was born in 1916 in Brooklyn, New York. At age 12, his father gave him a rifle, and he became fascinated with the mechanics of the gun. So this is kind of like a guy who, he's not like avidly like interested in shooting and death. He's like got an engineering perspective. And he's like, how does this thing work? And so as a teenager, he spent hours at the New York Public Library reading everything he could find on the history, design, and manufacture of guns. He went on to college at UNC Chapel Hill, which is a great school, to study business. While there, he converted an empty room into a small machine shop and came up with the early designs for what eventually became a light machine gun for the Army. After 2 years of college, Ruger left to work in a gun factory. So he didn't have the patience to stick around. He's like, I'm going to go from this great school to working in a gun factory, But that's because he was so passionate about this, all right? And I'm sure he picked a thing up or two studying business for 2 years. So 5 years later, he struck out on his own as a tool maker and promptly went bankrupt. But in the meantime, he had perfected a design for a .22 caliber automatic pistol. In 1949, he showed his pistol design to his friend and fellow gun enthusiast, Alex Sturm. Okay, now Sturm was an interesting character. He was the son of Justin Sturm, who was a sculptor, author, and Yale football star. What he did, I think he tried to go into business and failed, and then became a writer and a sculptor. Yeah.
Change of tune.
And he married, the Sturm that we're talking about, Alex Sturm, his mom was Kit McCormick, who was a publishing heiress. The like, if you ever look at a textbook, it'll say McCormick.
Yeah.
That's them, not the spices. But
I like the spices.
Yeah, spices are good, and I bet whoever owns that is pretty well off too. So Alex was well known as while he was at Yale, he wrote two popular children's books. and they're kind of cool. I saw that they were referred to as adult children's books, like adult, like it's like the early version of the movies that kind of appeal to both children and adults. So he was really well known for that. He was just an undergraduate, and he was already successful and famous, and he was a notorious bon vivant. They said, you can infer all you want from that. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I would say that sounds like he parties a lot.
Yeah.
And what else? Oh yeah. So okay, this is funny. Let's see, a fellow student. All right, so while a student at Yale, Alex would dine at the best hotel in town, while other students ate at the dining hall.
So this guy had like rich parents then.
Oh
right?
yeah,
I mean,
she was the heiress.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And okay, so he's very wealthy, going to Yale, already successful in his own right.
See, I did that too. I went to all of the nice, the high class joints down in the Mon Valley.
Yeah.
But I just racked up debt.
Oh yeah, that's. Well, did you live a bon vivant lifestyle?
For the Mon Valley, yes.
Yeah, that's a whole different. That's all relative. All right. So one of his classmates at Yale said he would go to New York regularly on the weekends. His clothes were all custom tailored, and he was a Renaissance type with all kinds of talent, an artistic sense, a true brilliance were in his genes. That was a weird way to put it.
That's
in
kind of
his
weird.
genes.
Yeah, and this is
That's
what,
like
from his
right,
obituary?
It's like during World War II or right after. So that, I think I got that from his obituary. Oh, but you know what? It was in Wikipedia too. That quote. That quote was like everywhere. I looked up it. Yeah.
So everyone knocks Wikipedia, but here they are, same exact dialogue from the New York Times. So
Ruger showed it to Sturm, this pistol design, and Sturm loved Ruger's design, and he agreed to finance a new business with $50,000. So, and this is Ruger talking about Sturm. Alex was an odd fish in those days. He had a beard, wore green suits with all sorts of bells and whistles on them, cuff sleeves and so on. And he had a marvelous manner. He gave you the general impression of being a pre-war German baronial type. It's an interesting and colorful description.
Yeah.
So this guy was definitely a character. All right. So Sturm and Ruger, an interesting combination, an engineer along with a writer / rich gun enthusiast.
It was all over the place.
Yeah, right. Partier.
That's the nice thing about being rich is you have the money to really be whatever you want, even if you're not good at it.
I mean, you
could be good at it. You never know, but you can get away. You have the funds to just do it.
Well, if your mom owns a publishing company,
and a spice company,
you can get your children's books published.
Yeah. Maybe that's the solution to our gun problem here in the United States: is just fill the guns with spices.
Oh yeah,
and then you can just fire spices at people, and they just open their mouth instead of instead of dying. And
but
and
you want to you're shooting someone because you're mad at them, so you want a spice that's gonna like a real intense what are those like habanero, but like hotter than habanero.
Okay, yeah.
All right, some kind of pepper like that.
So then you're just like
so it would sting?
Inconveniencing them.
Yeah. So it's not as bad, but okay, so. Anyway, where was I? All right, yeah, he was this character. And Ruger's pistol, that he designed, this thing, was a .22 caliber semi-automatic. Mm-hmm. And it incorporated the looks of a German 9mm Luger and the American Colt Woodsman. Now, it also was very efficient and could be produced for relatively cheap. Mm-hmm. So they could sell it for cheaper. So they undercut the competition, and it was a tremendous hit.
Okay.
Just as the company was gaining traction from pistol sales, Sturm became seriously ill with viral hepatitis and passed away in 1951. He was only 28 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was like super talented. That's really tragic.
Yeah.
But
That's young.
sounds like, I don't know, viral hepatitis, you can interpret that how you want to. So, okay, Ruger then changed the company's emblem from red to black. Sturm was the guy who designed the emblem. And
It changed it because he was upset because he died, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was in mourning of Sturm. Okay, so Ruger went on to design a .22 rifle that became very popular also. And he went on to make a wide variety of different guns. I read a lot about, the company and people who had been in it for a long time. And they said that, like, Ruger was involved in every single gun design. And there were so many of them. Okay, so from 1949 to 2002, when Ruger passed away, so his partner died in 1951, he died in 2002, the company had manufactured over 20 million firearms and currently offers guns for hunting, target shooting, self-defense, collecting, and law enforcement. Also for crime. So,
now you have to wonder, like, gun owners, like, deep down, like, not gun owners, but gun manufacturers, do they like the mob? Do they like organizations like that? Because they do buy, right? I imagine.
Yeah, but they
in
also,
some way or another.
They also bring the specter of gun control closer. Now, here's the interesting thing about gun control. Whenever it seems like gun control is going to happen, it's imminent, that the sales of firearms go through the roof. Because people are like, this is my last chance to buy it. So these companies, I mean, a lot of what's interesting now is that firearms are not selling well. And the reason is because a lot of people in the retail stores that sell firearms were anticipating Hillary Clinton to win the election. And they thought they would get a big surge in sales from that. But they were surprised, and Trump won, and they did not get any surge in sales. And so they were left with these big inventories of guns. So that hurts, gun manufacturers, because then they got to go through their inventory that's sitting around rather than order new ones. So this is not a good business environment for gun makers.
Okay.
All right. But that sometimes is the time to buy.
Sure.
Okay?
Because now you buy when it's cheaper, right? Because
you buy when it's cheap, and then maybe, people start pounding the gun control drum more. Because if there's another big shooting, then it could spike.
Okay.
Because people, like after Sandy Hook, it's the sales of guns went way higher. All right. The PE on this company is 14.64 times earnings. All right, so that means the price of the company is 14.64 times the earnings of the company. All right, they pay a 2.88% dividend, which is nice. They have an ROIC, that's return on invested capital, and that's how you look at how efficient a company is, how well they use the money that's already invested with them. And I see that as a reflection of like how good the management is largely. It's 35.44%, which is really excellent. And so the PE is only 14.64, has a nice dividend, 35.44% ROIC. Already, this company is looking very undervalued.
I feel like a gun company is also like a safe investment too, because in this country
it's never going to go away. You think?
I don't think so.
You don't think they're ever going to say, okay, we've had enough of these shootings?
I think there might be some sort of gun control, but I don't think people will ever get rid of guns.
Get rid of guns, like for hunting and
or even
self-defense.
Self-defense. I don't see that in the future here in the United States, because even because if it's a Democrat issue, gun control in the United States, but even most Democrats are in favor of the right to bear arms to some level. Now, I think a lot of them would like to see harsher restrictions or maybe firmer restrictions on who can get guns. But, even some hardcore lifelong Democrats, they're huge proponents of the Second Amendment.
But that's the current position of the Democrats, but things changed.
Well, it's not the radical part of the Democratic Party.
Right,
yeah.
right. But it wasn't always, if you go back 20 years, they were probably all in favor of no gun control or and it's gotten closer and closer.
Yeah.
I think. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
probably.
It seems like it's got there's more political capital to it now than there
ever was before
20 years ago, right? And it's just going in that direction, kind of like gay marriage. If you go back 20 years, the Democrats were even opposed to gay marriage, right?
Well, even the Clintons were, and Obama even was when he ran. He wasn't. Well, I wouldn't say he was opposed, but he wasn't like pro-gay marriage. He didn't have that stance. He didn't have that stance until the Supreme Court ruled that it was okay. Then all of a sudden he was a champion for it.
I think something like that. I can't remember exactly.
He wasn't anti-gay by any means, or like one of those like crazy zealot types that are anti-gay.
Not.
But he wasn't a big proponent of gay marriage, though. At least campaigning, he wasn't.
Right.
So.
Now, okay, so let me tell you the rest about this company. So it has no debt, which is huge, and it has $35 million in cash, which doesn't sound like a lot if you consider the other companies that we've covered. But this is not a big company. I mean, compared to other public companies, it's got a $1.2 billion market cap. The stock price has gone from $59 to $66.70 over the last 3 years, which isn't that much progress, so I don't think you can say the stock's really run very much. The analysts are expecting a 5% decline in earnings per share for 2017. Okay. Now, that's to be expected, I think, in this environment, and I like it at any rate. This is just completely neutral on the issue of gun control, which I'm actually personally torn about. But
I have mixed feelings as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a cut and dry issue like everybody on each side tries to make it out to be.
Right. But I do think that this, by looking at it by financial and analytical standards, is a good buy. It looks very cheap right here. And even though the sales are going down, this is something you buy, and you don't buy a whole lot of it. You only make it a small percentage of your portfolio. But you kind of tuck it away for maybe a year or two, and then look at it. This is kind of a longer-term hold. And then you sell it when the
Democrats take
gun
office.
Control is raging. No, you want to hold it for a little while, the Democrats, but you don't want to actually be holding it when they pass gun control legislation.
Sure, yes.
But you do want all the excitement from
the
possibility
fear,
of gun control to drive sales. So that's a weird.
It's a weird stock, because
it's
exactly, because if it does go to the direction of gun control, then you're screwed. But
and now I'm gonna bring in their competitor, who is the most similar to them. They're like the same size company. This stock has run more than Sturm Ruger. It's gone from $15.50 in 2014 to $23.60 today, which is a good little run for. It's not that great because it's 3 years, but it's good. So this is the company formerly known as Smith & Wesson, but now they call themselves American Outdoor Brands Corp. The stock symbol is AOBC.
Sounds like an apparel company.
I know, right? Yeah. They're trying to disguise it a little. So I used Wikipedia and WSJ.com for the sources on this one, I didn't. There wasn't quite as much to this story because it was an older story.
Okay.
And it was so old that there just isn't that much information from back then. So Daniel Wesson was born in 1825 to Rufus and Betsy Wesson. All right, Betsy. Blah. Daniel's father was a farmer and maker of wooden plows. Daniel worked on his father's farm and attended public school until the age of 18. All right, then he became an apprentice to his brother Edwin. These names sort of reflect the era. Rufus, Edwin. Okay, although Edwin, you see it around.
You do see some.
All right. Edwin made target rifles and pistols, and so and actually had a thriving business at that time in the 1840s. In 1847, Wesson married Cynthia Hawes. Hawes's father objected. Now, I forgot to tell you that this guy, the Sturm of Sturm Ruger, the guy who died at 28, married.
Oh, really?
FDR's he married Teddy Roosevelt's granddaughter.
Okay.
Yeah, and who was like super high society.
He was also a big hunter, wasn't he? Didn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was the big game and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, but so Wesson marries this Cynthia Hawes, and her father objected to the engagement, saying that Wesson was a mere gunsmith with no future, and that forced the couple to elope. In 1854, and that's a very ironic forecast for the man's life. Mm-hmm. In 1854, having left his brother's business, Wesson partnered with Horace Smith and Cortlandt Palmer. Never got his name on anything. To develop the Smith & Wesson lever pistol. He's like, what about me?
Yeah, right, off out of the equation.
I know. And the first repeating rifle, which was called the Volcanic.
See, what if they were smart, they would have named, made a brand of the bullets, and they could have, given Palmer his bone, and it could have been the bullet company.
Right. But, okay, so they developed this repeating rifle called the Volcanic. And the two, okay, so this was kind of confusing because there were conflicting dates on different Wikipedia articles that I was looking at. Mm-hmm. But I think it happened in the early 1850s, that's for sure. So Smith & Wesson, they were making this Volcanic, which is a hilarious name. But it was a clumsy gun. And so it didn't sell all that well. And what happened was they needed financial rescue. An investor came in, and his name was Oliver Winchester. Mm-hmm. Now, Winchester wasn't like an engineer or gun expert or anything like that. He was a businessman, and he saw a business opportunity here. Okay, so he had, when he bought that company, there was a guy named Benjamin Henry who was the chief engineer. I had to mention it because it's the same last name.
Same name, any family connection?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of.
And so he designed this gun that was, like a superior Volcanic. He added on to the Volcanic design and made it, renamed it the Henry rifle. And eventually, and that sold really well. And so the company started succeeding again. But Winchester changed the name from Smith & Wesson to Volcanic, and then eventually to Winchester. And he eventually changed the name of the rifle to Winchester also, after making some modifications. But that's a famous gun, the Winchester rifle. But so then Smith and Wesson, one of them worked in the plant for a little, I think it was Wesson. But then they left and started a new company again, okay, called Smith & Wesson.
Yes, that's the one everyone knows.
Yeah.
The name everyone knows, yeah.
So, about Smith. I didn't really tell you about Smith, but Horace Smith, before partnering with Wesson, worked for the U.S. Armory as well as various gunsmiths. Mm-hmm. Horace is not a name you see that much.
No, not at all.
Maybe because it has whore in it in the beginning.
Yeah,
but
no one wants
that right
wants
now.
That. But
I don't know.
People have
it's kind of a cool name.
It is kind of a cool name, and I don't know. People have the dumbest names. Like I feel, I don't want to throw anybody's name under the bus, but there's
Yeah.
some bad names out there.
Oh, my
Horace is
gosh,
not the
yeah.
worst of the names that I've heard.
Absolutely not. Now that Smith & Wesson had sold their volcanic business to Winchester, they formed the other Smith & Wesson company in 1857. This time, they produced a pistol with interchangeable parts, a repeating action, a revolving magazine, metallic cartridges, and an open cylinder. So, basically what you think of when you think of like a traditional revolver, right? But they weren't like that before 1857. This revolver was the first successful, fully self-contained cartridge revolver available in the world. So, they had like goofy guns before that.
Uh-huh.
So they patented the revolver, pistols, and the company took off. In 1899, Smith & Wesson introduced what is arguably the most famous revolver in the world, the .38 military and police.
Yes.
But it's the .38, which is a pretty high caliber. I mean, it's a deadly gun, the .38.
Mm-hmm.
But, police used it a lot. But I had no idea it's was started in 1899. And it's in continuous
still
production
being
today.
Used. Wow, that's crazy.
They're still churning it.
Still for police?
People are buying it.
Are they still using it for the police?
The police mostly have Berettas now.
Okay.
I read about that. The police actually used the Ruger for a long time, the Sturm Ruger. Mm-hmm. But then they have the switch to the Beretta.
Okay.
Before that, they used the .38. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they used the .38 probably up until World War II or so.
Oh wow.
So looking at this company, all right, I already told you size is the same as the other one. The PE is only 10. Mm-hmm. Has no dividend. Okay, too bad. Return on invested capital, 22.27%. Very good. And the PE is only 10, so it looks like it's on serious discount. Net debt to equity is 29%. So that means that, of all of their, the equity is the assets minus the liabilities. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the net value of the company, the book value, they call it.
Okay.
And so that's the equity there, the assets minus. And then if you take all the debt, what is that as a percentage of the equity? 29%. Well, that's okay. My threshold is 65%. It's well below that. So that's okay. It's not a big bonus like with Sturm Ruger where they have no debt.
Yes.
But here's the thing. Sales up, analysts were expecting up 40%. Okay, but that is flawed because they have a different calendar year. Their year ends in April. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's for 2017. So what they're forecasting for a different time period to some extent than what they're forecasting for Ruger. But I do think that this is a good value play.
Which one is better?
Yeah, I like Ruger better.
Okay.
I think
Because of
Ruger
the
is
debt?
more solid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's less risky, significantly. You have no debt, and you get a nice dividend. But this one, if you wanted to be more aggressive on the sector, this is what you would buy, because it would go up more if the sector does well. But if the sector does poorly, it would also fall more.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, Bill Cowher's Steelers. Like, Ruger might be Jerome Bettis.
Uh-huh.
And Smith & Wesson, American Outdoor Brands Corp., would be like Willie Parker.
Okay.
Yeah. So he could burst for a lot of yards, but he also could fumble, very easily. Whereas Bettis is just going to get a few yards, but he's not going to fumble.
Yeah.
So that's I prefer the Bettis, And Bettis almost made it to the Hall of, or did make it
I
to the
think
Hall.
he did it. Yeah, he did
make
this
it to the
time,
Hall of
yeah.
Fame. So, Willie Parker will never get into the Hall of Fame.
No, never.
So I prefer to go with Bettis.
That's Willie Parker. Didn't Tomlin say he was gonna?
Sturm Ruger is my Bettis.
Yes.
What were you going to say about
Say
Willie
Mike Tomlin. He said, he'll run Parker till his wheels fell off, and then they did fall off.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, they did indeed. Okay, so with that, we're all out of funny money.
All right.
Thank
Ding,
you
ding,
for
ding,
producing
ding,
in
ding,
your
ding.
house.
Catch you next week, hopefully from our new home, wherever
Oh, yeah.
that may be. So you're listening
So
to The River's
long.
Edge. Go to riversedgepgh.com for local original music.